The Itaewon district in South Korea's capital is known to revelers as a place of fun, freedom and openness. As police investigate Saturday's events, a picture is emerging of how a celebration spiraled into disaster, leaving a nation in collective grief and lingering questions about crowd management and responses by police and local authorities. The National Police Commissioner, Yoon Hee-kun, acknowledged that crowd control was inadequate, and President Yoon Suk-yeol said it was critical to improve emergency responses. Police on Tuesday released transcripts of emergency calls that showed increasing distress among revelers as the crowd swelled, providing nearly 4 hours of warnings that went mostly unheeded. South Korea was marking Halloween almost free of the COVID-19 restrictions that had dampened recent years' festivities, and Itaewon was ready to party. The crowd was mostly young, many wore colorful costumes as they converged on the area with friends. Authorities say more than twice as many people left Itaewon metro station on Saturday than the year before, with as many as 100,000 estimated to be in the area. The bustling streets and alleys of bars near the Hamilton Hotel are in full swing as tens of thousands flock to the area, many arriving via the metro station. The scale of the crowd was apparent to Linda, a 20-year-old exchange student from Latvia, when she got off the metro at Itaewon shortly before 10 p.m. The movement was slow, but bearable, she said. Linda and her friends headed north along part of the World Food Street, where booths had been set up for face painting and other Halloween crafts, further cramping the space, and turned left, down a street filled with clubs behind the Hamilton. We thought that soon we will reach some kind of an end of the clubbing street where there will be not as much people, she said. There were too many people to move easily, but with the night still young, most seemed relatively sober, said a 29-year-old South Korean graduate student who asked not to be named. Around the same time, Yanel Story, a 35-year-old teacher from the United States, left the station and headed west before turning north into a narrow street. What none of these witnesses realized as they inched toward the Hamilton Hotel was that in the swarm ahead, revelers increasingly fearful of the crowd's density had been calling police for hours, with little response. According to police, 11 emergency calls were made from Itaewon before the crush turned deadly. Police said they sent officers in response to 4 of the calls, but were still determining what they did when they arrived. Prime Minister Han Duck-seo said on Wednesday that police must provide a clear and transparent explanation to the public. Local authorities said they took no steps to plan for crowd control, because their protocols are based on events with a central organizer who typically asks for government help. Witnesses who had converged behind the Hamilton Hotel told Reuters they felt a palpable change in the crowd shortly after 10 p.m. Linda said she initially thought there was a fight going on because club workers were filming the crowd. I felt panic starting to fill the air. It was there around 10:35 p.m. that she saw the first police officer, standing on something and shouting for the crowd to move away from the hotel. We saw the policeman up close for a second. He was covered in sweat, screaming as loud as he can, but almost helpless, she said. In the sloping alleyway next to the Hamilton's tall brick walls, which narrow people landed on or under others in a crush that left a pile of bodies wedged between buildings, some at the bottom appearing unconscious or dead. Some reached out to a small group of emergency workers who had arrived on the scene and spent more than an hour struggling to free them. The death toll stood at 156, with 172 injured. Among the dead, dozens of whom suffered cardiac arrest, were at least 6 school students, as well as 26 foreign nationals from 14 countries.